I guess this means I've lived to play another inning. La 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 la. They tried to slap that look right off my face, but I'm still grinning. And the money ain't run out yet, so I do believe I'm winning. For all the mess I was, am and will be continuing, and the fun is only beginning. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap SmackDown every Saturday night after the bell, but tonight is a different night. We're recapping WWE Night of Champions. My name's John Zindel. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
This premium live event was called Night of Champions. There were 2 championship matches and 4 not championship matches on it. However, did the championship matches deliver? On that note, John, don't bury the lead. What's our top story from this WWE premium live event?
Dom, we don't ever bury the lead. And the lead is the main event. We got John Cena versus CM Punk. A lot went on here. We had some good wrestling in the beginning of the match, eventually leading into Seth Rollins trying to cash in. A lot of sports entertainment, but eventually John Cena gets the pin on CM Punk after lots of shenanigans, lots of run-ins. I can't even summarize all the run-ins in the lead here, but long story short, Cena wins, knocks off CM Punk after lots of interference. Dom, what do you think of this main event in Saudi Arabia?
Match goes a little more than 26 minutes, and like you were saying, it was the last 7 where things got really interesting. But before that, I thought this was a pretty good match. Maybe it's because John Cena and CM Punk, they just like, riding a bike.
It really was like
you
riding
never
a bike.
forget how to ride a bike. Like, they had chemistry years ago and they still had it. And maybe this was Cena being more comfortable with Punk in the ring. If that's the case, kudos for CM Punk for dragging the best wrestling match we've seen out of John Cena since his year-long retirement tour began. I mean, this was pretty good action. Like you said, ref bump, and let's see here. John Cena went for a shoulder tackle, hits the first one, but then CM Punk ducked the second one. Cena takes out the ref. The ref goes hitting the mat, sprawling to the floor, and he's just done. Or is he? We'll get to that. That's what CM Punk starts calling for another ref. But instead, it's Seth Rollins music. It's Rollins, Paul Heyman, and the Bronze, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Seth sends the Bronze after CM Punk. CM Punk, though, fights him off, but he makes a costly mistake. Tries to springboard, crossbody both of them on the floor. Bronson Reed catches him. They choke slam him through the announce table. They get back in the ring. Seth Rollins now calls for a ref. See, he didn't initially come down with a ref. Now he calls for a ref, and it's Charles Robinson who comes running down. So you know that Charles Robinson is going to get destroyed. And sure enough, John Cena comes running around the ring and decks little Nate before he can quite get to the ring. Then he confronts Seth Rollins. What are you doing? Why are you trying to cash in on me? Seth tries to hit Cena with the case. Cena ducks, hits an attitude adjustment on Seth Rollins. The Bronze beat down Cena. Here comes Penta. They beat up Penta. Here comes Sami Zayn. It's a draw now with Sami and Penta. Schmaz everywhere. OTC chants from the crowd, but no Roman Reigns. And then we get in the ring Punk and Cena after CM Punk, can you believe this, saves John Cena from a tsunami from Bronson Reed, pushes Bronson Reed off the top turnbuckle. Cena hits an attitude adjustment on the huge Bronson Reed. Now it's just CM Punk and Cena alone in the ring, and they stare at each other, and they start to nod, and they approach, and CM Punk sticks out the hand for a handshake, and John Cena takes it, and they shake hands, and they hug, and then Cena tries to kick him in the nuts because that's what you do with friends. Punk blocks it, goes for a GTS, gets him up for the go to sleep on his shoulders, but Seth Rollins re-enters the ring, plasters Punk with the case, hits a stomp on CM Punk, and wouldn't you know it, just in the perfect time for the original referee to crawl back into the ring as Cena covers Punk. 1, 2, 3. Pretty good match. And then the last 7 minutes, even though it was crazy, I thought that was well done as well.
Yeah.
I thought this was a pretty good. This is the best John Cena main event of his run.
Yeah, I have to say, the wrestling was really good, and a lot of it's been like a struggle. I was worried about how good they would be able to wrestle with each other, but they kept it simple, and they kind of kept it old school, really. And I think keeping it simple and keeping it old school was really effective here. I love some of the sports entertainment at the end. Charles Robinson getting destroyed was fantastic. The look on Cena's face when they do the handshake and he just like stares at the camera, that was fantastic. Like there was a bunch of like the sports entertainment at the end that you're like, I am sports entertained.
Yeah, the look into the camera, call back to Elimination Chamber when he looked that way at The Rock, who gave him the cutthroat sign there. Yeah. You mentioned the wrestling. I also mentioned the wrestling. Anything you want to call out from this match and how they put it together? Obviously, the end is going to be talked about for a long time. It sets up a few things going forward, which I like that they're doing, because you can't make everything about Cena, because if Cena really is done after this year, then what? Your whole promotion ends after this year? So I like that they're still doing other things that keep angles going forward. But what say you about the match?
I love the test of strength. I have not seen that in a very long time, and I was like, yes, test of strength. So they did a test of strength at the beginning. They didn't have to do anything. The crowd was so hot for for them that, and they knew they didn't have to do anything, so they didn't. Like they didn't go too crazy. There weren't tons of high spots. There weren't tons of like Irish whips and dives outside in the very beginning. It was just like very slow paced, and it definitely worked. There was a really cool reversal of the GTS to the Cena lock. Like Punk had him up for the GTS, and then Cena reverses to his Cena lock. I think it's been called a couple other things, but
step over toe hold face lock, which STF, which John Cena apparently added the U to. It's the STFU.
STFU, right? So he gets the lock in, and that was really cool.
Punk rolled that into an Anaconda Vice.
Yeah.
A good reversal.
So that whole transition was good. I think I'm liking some of the stuff I see from Cena as the heel, just being like slow and just staying in his lane. And when he stays in his lane, I didn't feel like this match, man, he's got nothing left in the tank. I was like, he still looked pretty good out there, which I was concerned about
quick,
going
right?
into it.
He looked crisp when he and Punk did the engagement thing. I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were going for the pause, but
no, go ahead.
There you go. I liked most of the other things they were doing. Like they would tease finishing moves, sometimes hit them, but the guy would kick out. And this match winds up ending without anybody hitting a finish. Seth Rollins hits his finishing move, and that's how the match ends. Like the attitude adjustments couldn't put away CM Punk. The go to sleep couldn't put away John Cena. So they couldn't quite put each other away with their big moves. There was at one point where CM Punk tried to climb on Cena, and it looked like a slightly too big toddler crawling on his dad or his granddad. And I don't know what was going on there, but it was awkward and it just fell apart. And then a little later, CM Punk went for it again, and this time it looked like a modified octopus hold. But again, it looked a little weird. And I'm like, okay, guys, you don't need to get that cute about it. Just, do the strikes and the reversals. You each have finishing moves that are submissions and fireman's carry things. If you stick to that, like you were saying, if you stick to the lane, then you guys can put on a pretty good match in the ring. And I think they did. CM Punk hit his top turn elbow drop. Cena catches that was when Cena caught the knee and turned it into the STF. At one point, CM Punk applies the STF. Cena gets to the ropes. John Cena had done the "you can't see me" and then the 5-knuckle shuffle. The second time he went from Punk kicks him in the face.
Yeah.
Little things like that. He goes for the "you can't see me" again, like boom. Now, crowd-wise, I thought the crowd was really, really hot for John Cena.
They
which
like
was a
Cena.
welcome sign because there was a period in this pay-per-view where it looked like the crowd was kind of out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, maybe that takes
Maybe
us
it was
into
too
the
hot in the
follow-up.
arena, like you were saying.
Yeah, I think that the only time I really thought that the crowd was really dead was, and maybe we could talk about it in the follow. What was the Jade Cargill Asuka match? They were like completely tuned out for Jade. But I got some chats coming in here, so maybe we'll hit a couple of these chats and then we can move to the follow.
What do we got? You found us on a Saturday afternoon after the 1 p.m. Eastern Time Premium Live event.
Ooh,
how about that? The Fixer is here.
The finisher kick out is starting to become too much AEW. There's a lot of kicking out of finishers
all the time.
They're no longer finishers, right?
Right, they're no longer, and things that used to be finishers years ago aren't even close to it, like CM Punk hitting the Macho Man top turn elbow drop that even does the Macho Man, arms in the air pose and everything. And that's like not a finisher anymore. You see things like that. Yeah, it's getting a little. I wonder if, these guys are just trained to wrestle the 10-minute matches where you hit your finisher on TV and you win. And then they get to a pay-per-view and they're like, well, why don't we just hit our finishers a bunch of times and just kick out? And that's how we'll make the match longer.
That's how we can add more to it, right?
We'll just like keep kicking out of each other's finishers and doing them over and over again, right? That's how we'll make the match longer. Instead of, doing more in the ring. I've seen that so often now, and I guess if that's an AEW thing as well, then it's not just a WWE problem. It's everybody sort of does that.
I have 2 more chats before we move on to the follow, as we're a little.
There we go.
We don't have a lot of time today, so we're gonna keep it moving. Fixer saying Night of Champions gets a thumbs down.
Ooh, a thumbs down. Okay.
And we got Nick saying thumbs up. Great show. Well written for a predictable outcome.
Okay, mentioning the end there, you figured John Cena has to win, but how do they do it where it's not, just boring and everybody goes, oh yeah, I figured that.
Yeah.
I thought this was pretty cool. The only thing we were missing was maybe LA Knight.
Right.
Coming out, because basically everybody that Seth Rollins' faction had been beating down came out. It was Penta, it was Sami Zayn, who was on the show already. No LA Knight though, and though the crowd was chanting OTC, no Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Fixer, and thanks for that, Nick.
Yeah.
I got another one from Nick, and I'm gonna say let's do this, Dom. Good main event, but we have a little bit more of the show, and again, we're doing an abbreviated show here, so.
Only one other championship match on Night of Champions. It was Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa for the U.S. Championship. This match only goes about 12 minutes for a title match, but it features a lot of run-ins at the end, which surprisingly did not cause a disqualification in a title match. JC Mateo comes running down to the ring. Jacob drops him. Jacob eventually hits a top turnbuckle moonsault, but the ref is distracted tending to JC Mateo in the corner for way too long, tending to a guy who's not in the match. But of course, this unreasonably long distraction allows Tonga Loa to appear from outside. He had attacked Jacob earlier. He gets back into the fray. And then there's another guy that Michael Cole and Wade Barrett mentioned. Oh, he was huge in Japan. Apparently, this is Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga's brother. It's another taller one of the Tongas. He appears.
My wife said, how big is this family? There's just so many of them. And I was like, I know.
Well, if you start a few generations back and it keeps branching out, like all the cousins, it's a family reunion in WWE.
When he showed up and Michael Cole was like, oh, and here he is, Tonga Loa. And I was like, who is this? And then he gave, he's in Japan. It's like, okay, a guy from Japan that's in the family. Got it.
So Tonga Loa's back, but not Tama Tonga. But now we have a third Tonga, in addition to JC Mateo, who's Jeff Cobb. And they're all beating up on Jacob Fatu because Jacob Fatu had the gall to be popular with the crowd, and they had to turn him babyface and get him out of the bloodline quickly.
Right.
But Solo Sikoa winds up winning this. After all of the beatdowns on Jacob Fatu, the newest Tonga choke slamming him onto the announce table, then throwing him back in the ring, where Solo Sikoa hits the Samoan spike for the pinfall. Solo Sikoa is now the U.S. champion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to make of this. Solo Sikoa, again, very
I can't
impressive.
believe Solo Sikoa won a match. He must have lost like 50 matches in a row.
Yeah,
he was turning into like a straight jobber. So just to see him actually win a match and then actually give him the title was like, whoa, okay, now we're
and he won it Roman Reigns style with the entire family helping him.
Right.
Well, what did you think of this match and some of the action here?
You know, I'm glad that they gave Solo the belt and they gave him some wins because it was getting a little ridiculous because he's too good to just keep losing.
Mm-hmm.
I think we both have praised Solo a lot, so I like the outcome for sure because I know we've been pretty big high on Solo, so I'm glad that he wins. He gets a U.S. title, so he can kind of elevate that, that mid-card title, and he needed something soon, right?
Yeah.
Or they were just going to be they're basically Blue Meanie and Stevie Richards, the Job Squad, Bloodline 2.0. They were just losing left and right, But yeah, so I have to say I'm happy with the finish, and then I will give a couple more chats coming through. Solo had more help than Seth.
Right? Yeah, these are the two factions now that are constantly involved in run-ins. It's Seth Rollins' guys and it's Solo Sikoa's guys in Bloodline 2.0.
This is an interesting one. I was texting my friend during the show, and you could see during the whole chat, I knew every match. This is what the fix
okay. So you had Cena winning, which a lot of people did. You had Solo winning, which is maybe a little bit of a surprise because it is. It's only been 2 months barely since Jacob Fatu won the title from LA Knight at WrestleMania, which took place late this year in late April.
Yeah.
So now we're in late June. So it's been barely more than 2 months that Jacob Fatu's held it. Jacob Fatu finally gets pinned. And it's by his own extended family member, Solo Sikoa. I thought a pretty decent match, and it sets up a lot of stuff going forward. What happens to Jacob Fatu? He's basically a lone wolf at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, he's way over. I think he'll be all right. Maybe it's the best, or it's not a bad outcome for him because he got totally screwed by like a ton of this family. So at least, I don't think he necessarily needs the belt so quickly either. So, yeah. I think
sets him
fine.
up to run through the Bloodline 2.0. This isn't the end of the Bloodline 2.0 versus Jacob Fatu.
Yeah. Dom. All right. So we talked Solo
Those are the
Sikoa.
champion matches on Night of Champions. You want to go to the Night of Not Champions?
Yeah. Maybe we could do. And this is so crazy. I think the match of the night, might be Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez in the street fight.
That
This
was
one
fun.
was really fun.
Yeah.
And Rhea Ripley goes over, but I think this is probably Raquel Rodriguez's best match I've seen her in WWE. She was really good in this one. Rhea Ripley, Raquel Rodriguez. Dom, what'd you think of this matchup?
Fun match, like you said, goes about 14 minutes. It's a Riyadh Boulevard street fight because they have to rename every street fight after something in the city where they are. I don't know what Riyadh Boulevard is like. Apparently, they have kendo sticks, chairs, and tables just lying around on the street. So this was a Riyadh Boulevard street fight. We get interference at the end from Roxanne Perez, who is trying to ingratiate herself to Raquel Rodriguez in the Judgment Day and looks to be a really good candidate for them to put the Liv Morgan being out as one half of the tag team champions for several months more while she recuperates from shoulder surgery. Might be fun to just put the belt on Roxanne Perez and have her and Raquel Rodriguez have to be like this somewhat of an odd couple trying to get along with each other, even though they're champions. Roxanne Perez, for her troubles, gets hit with a trash can, gets the trash can put on her head on the outside, and Rhea Ripley just kicks her in the head and through the trash can. So that takes care of Roxanne Perez's interference. Back in the ring, we get a pretty fun ending here. Rhea Ripley had set up the table across the top turnbuckle, balancing on the ropes there. And eventually she sends Raquel Rodriguez into the table face first, then climbs it herself, pulls Raquel Rodriguez up, uses that as a platform, and hits the Riptide pump handle slam all the way to the floor from that table for the 1, 2, 3. I like the finish, and I do like what you were saying. Raquel Rodriguez looked quick in this match. It looked like in there with another wrestler who's kind of big, not as big as Raquel Rodriguez, but Raquel was maybe able to do some more stuff with Rhea Ripley that she can't do against someone who's half her size.
Yeah, I love the rope spot. Where
tied up Rhea Ripley in the ropes.
Rhea Ripley got tied up in the ropes. I haven't seen that in so long, and that's an old NJCW classic with Nessie Nick LaCastro. So I was like, yes, the rope spot. I love it. I haven't seen it in forever. I think they did a great job pacing the match out. Like, I think a lot of times the street fight, they're like, just make it a goofy brawl, and it just turns into a goofy brawl. But they would tease, like a great thing they did is they brought the table in, and the finish is the Riptide off the table. But the tease going to the table's up for several minutes in the corner instead of just going right to it.
Yep.
I think that's just something that WWE, I should say in pro wrestling, people always just go right into the weapons. They start diving into it, and it makes it look really stupid. Where now, when you set it up, it builds anticipation. So I think they did a great job. Like, just this is how you're supposed to do a weapons match, right?
Yeah, because they didn't use the weapons all the time.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't even so much a weapons finish.
Yeah.
It was Rhea Ripley's finisher, but she didn't put her through the table.
It looks cooler with her using the table to launch her off rather than go through the table. So really creative. It wasn't cliche either. It wasn't like, oh, she just pulls her through the table and that's it. So
and they went for the weapons after Rhea got tied up in the rings. Raquel gets a kendo stick, hits her in the midsection a few times, then goes for a chair. But as she approaches, Rhea kicks the chair into Raquel's face. That allows Rhea enough time to get out of the ropes. And then they do some more wrestling stuff. I mean, even out on the floor, Rhea went for a suplex off the Arab announce table through the equipment guard that she had set up across the barrier, like she was going to suplex her through it. Raquel blocked it. They fought on the announce table. Rhea headbutts Raquel off. Raquel goes to the floor. Rhea tries that cannonball. Raquel Rodriguez catches her. When was the last time you saw somebody catch Rhea Ripley out of midair?
Yeah.
Raquel's big enough to do that, though. Catches her, gets her up to Hana bomb, choke slam, power bomb through that equipment guard that Rhea had set up. So, neat stuff there.
Dom, I'll tell you what. We're doing the abbreviated show. I talked about my match of the night, but I think we're going to move on to a quick thumb drive, then out.
Okay.
So,
Sami Zayn beats Karrion Kross with a surprise haluva kick. Cody Rhodes beats Randy Orton to win King of the Ring. And Jade Cargill beats Asuka in an 8.5-minute match that was kind of unimpressive for as much time as they gave them. Like they didn't give them much time to win the Queen of the Ring finals. Let's put a bow on it and take this to drive time. This is when you and I look at Night of Champions. We're going to give it a simple thumbs up or a thumbs down. There's no ties. There's no star ratings, no letter grades, no number grades. You're taking this course pass fail.
Dom, we're not Dave Meltzer. We don't give 5 stars in the Tokyo Dome. We don't give 2 stars at NXT Battleground. No, no, no. We don't do star ratings. We just say, was the show good or was the show bad? So, are you ready?
I am ready.
3, 2, 1. Oh, 2 thumbs up.
I'll give it a thumbs up. I saw enough pretty good wrestling on this show. It was a premium live event to me. Karrion Kross, Sami Zayn was a pretty good match, even though it wasn't for a title. King of the Ring was a pretty good match as well. And even though they didn't give Jade and Asuka much time, it was great to see Asuka in there. It looked like she did some really good stuff with Jade. Other than Jade like selling a knee injury early and then suddenly not selling it at all. I didn't think there was anything fishy in that match. The crowd, unfortunately, was dead for a lot of things, but I'm not going to go by the crowd. I'm going to go by what I was watching. And I thought, crowd getting tired at points here and there, I thought it was a pretty good event.
Dom, I thought it was really good. I thought it was a really good premium live event. I liked every match except for Jade Cargill, Asuka. Really weird one. The crowd just did not respond to Jade Cargill at all. I don't even really think it was necessarily too much that she could do because she was doing like the little desperation things where she was screaming at the crowd. They just did not like her. It was weird. It's actually strange because I've never seen her just not over. Also, I won't get too deep into it, but she struggled at some points. But I liked the main event. I liked all the other matches too. Outside of the women's King of the Ring match or Queen of the Ring match. The opener was good with Cody and Randy Orton playing the hits. We have Solo Sikoa getting a win, so I like the win there. And I was sports entertained by the main event. So thumbs up overall. And of course, a show where we have plenty of people on the live stream. We're actually doing something we don't usually do, which is we're keeping the show tight and short today. Usually we go as long as humanly possible. I would call this is not necessarily the Italian goodbye. Maybe it's more so the German goodbye as I look at the clock and I want the time to be exactly correct for when we're going to call it quits here. So thanks for joining. Really appreciate it. Dom, thank you so much for hopping in, doing a quick recap here. Anything from your end? We have like another minute or so.
To make it an Italian goodbye. Ciao, paisan.
Yes. Ciao, for real. Oh, the Uber's here. We got to go. Whatever other type of reference I could make there. It's T-shirt time. I think they would call it in Jersey Shore when the cabs were there and they had to leave. All kinds of dumb references coming out of my mouth right now, but we got to go. So thanks for joining. We have a good number of people on, so hit subscribe. We're a small channel, so why don't
Find us on YouTube. Don't Bury the Lead, a wrestling channel on YouTube.
Let's see if we can get 1 subscriber. Fixer, thanks for joining and chatting. That's really really great that you hung in there with us for a little bit here. And thanks, Nick Teodoro. Have a great rest of your evening.